what I want to go into today, the lesson for this week, and this is something that I've used on a lot of coaching calls. And I was recently thinking about, just the fundamentals of productivity and really nailing your role. And whenever that conversation starts coming up in my head, I'm always going to go back to the same book, The One Thing. And it's interesting because I fall into this trap as well. I think sometimes we get familiar with something and the power of the message gets lost on us. And I think it's one of the big things that when you look at the difference between knowledge and wisdom, that knowledge is something you know, wisdom is what you live. The one thing is something that I think a lot of us have knowledge of, but very few people actually live. I don't think that people take this book and the lessons in it to the extreme. And the message that I want you to get out of today is actually from page 190. So for those of you that are personal development junkies and you really want to understand where I got all this, page 190, and we're going to be talking about the 4 thieves of productivity. Now, I've taken this and converted it into a coaching exercise. So all of you are going to get a coaching exercise today, and I want you to follow along. And so the question that I like to ask here is, when we look at the 4 thieves, the first one is the inability to say no. 2, the fear of chaos. 3, poor health habits. And 4, the environment doesn't support your goals. Out of those 4 thieves, which one consistently robs you the most? So which of the 4 thieves consistently robs you the most? Now, the most common answers I get are 1 and 2. That it is inability to say no, or it's the fear of chaos. And yet, I believe that for the majority of you in the digital deluge of distraction that we live in today, it's number 4. Your environment does not support your goals. And what I mean by that is, if you go back to page 172 in the book, it talks about the importance of a bunker. And the bunker, as many of you know, is the place that you go into, and it's a place that is void of all distractions. And so a bunker to me has 2 layers. You have to be physically bunkered. So what that means is that the physical world can't get to you. Your team, your family, people in your office, whatever. There's a sign on the door. The door is closed and locked. If you have blinds, they are closed, and you are unavailable. So physically bunkered. The second one is you're digitally bunkered. Digitally bunkered means that you don't have notifications popping up on your phone or computer. You're not on Instagram. You are focused on this one thing. And see, I think, again, the message of the one thing can get a little bit lost. Part of it is there is always a most important thing, that if you look at your time throughout your day, you can always ask the focusing question of, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? It's getting to the most important thing. But the other message behind the book is that you can really only do one thing at a time. And I know there are people on here that say, I'm a great multitasker. No, you're not. You're just really good at screwing up multiple things at the same time. And yes, you can do multiple things at the same time. I get that. Like, you can walk and chew gum. And yet when it comes to activities that require cognitive power, like if you had to walk on a balance beam between 2 buildings that were both 60 feet up in the air, you would quit chewing that gum and you would focus on just walking. The other day, because of Josh Anderson and Matt Davis and the Modern Men, we had the opportunity to go to the BMW Performance Center in Spartansburg, South Carolina. And it was like one of the coolest things ever. It was epic. And you're like whipping around in these like hyped up M series BMWs. And I can promise you, there wasn't a single one of us that when we're flying around this track that is also looking at our phone. You have both hands on the wheel. You are lockstep focused. So the power of the bunker isn't just for you to narrow your focus to the most important thing. It's that you also buy into this idea that you do one thing at a time. Now, there's some science behind this. And for this next section, I'm going to need a volunteer. I'm going to need somebody, and you can't be driving, you can't be doing anything else, but I need somebody to either wave or take yourself off mute and be a volunteer for me, because I want to show everybody the power of this solo tasking versus multitasking. So who's going to be my brave soul and raise their hand? Otherwise, I'm just going to call on somebody.
I'll do it, but I'm Jenny. Do I look like Brittany on your stuff?
Your name is Jenny.
Me?
Yep.
Okay. You've
All
called
right.
me Brittany
So
before
Jenny,
whenever I've commented. So I was just checking.
got it. So Jenny, you have a sheet of paper there in front of you?
Oh no. Yes. I'm scared.
Okay. So let me know when you're ready, and I'm going to time you on this. So let me get my
wait. Oh gosh.
Let me get
I need a pencil. I need a okay. Does it have to be a blank piece of paper?
No, you just need about 2 to 3 inches going vertical or horizontal.
I know. I'm scared. Okay, go. I'm ready.
Okay, so when I say go, what you're going to do is you are going to write out the letters A, B, C, D, all the way to J. And then underneath it, you're going to number 1 through 10. So you're going to go A to J, 1 to 10, and I'm going to time you. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Are you ready? Go. Go.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this time you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go A to J and then 1 to 10, but instead of doing it linearly,
this time
you're going to go A1, B2, C3, all the way to J and 10. You got it? Ready?
Yes.
Set, go.
You suck, team. I can't. I don't know. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, got it. So the first time that she did that, everyone, she did it in 9.34 seconds. 9.34 seconds. The second time, it took her 15.74 seconds. So if you take 15.74 and subtract 9.34, you get 6.4 seconds. Now, is her output any better? Meaning the second time that she did this, did she do any better or any more work? No, it's the same number of letters, same number of numbers, right? So for the same number or the same output, it took her 6.4 seconds. Now you might be sitting there going, big deal. It's only 6.4 seconds. Cool. But let's look at it from a percentage perspective. If you take that original number of 9.34 and divide it into the 6.4 second difference, it took her 68.5% more time to do it the second time. Same output. A lot of times when I do this live, the output actually isn't the same. When you look at the quality of how she wrote the letters, the second output is actually worse. So, but let's just say today that Jenny's got great handwriting and they're both the same. It took her 68.5% longer to do that because she is task switching. She's going from letters to numbers and then back instead of a linear path. So for those of you who are walking around all the time, I have no time, the world is on fire. This is why. It's because you don't live in a bunker and one, focus on your most important thing. We all have a most important thing that if you are going to build an amazing life or business that you need to focus on each and every day. We call it the deep work. But then also when you are on your deep work, that you are only doing one thing at that time, that you have built a bunker that frees you from the digital deluge of distraction. And here's the way that I would encourage you. Here's a fun way to think about building your bunker is Imagine that you were looking at your phone after you're outside of your deep work and it starts ringing. It's a 512 phone number. So you're like, that's an Austin phone number. So you answer it. And Mindy Hager's on the other line. She says, please hold for Gary Keller. Gary Keller comes on, and we'll use Jenny as the example. He says, you know, Jenny, I've heard great things about you. We are actually rewriting the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. We're updating it for the MREA2. And I would like to come to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I want to just observe you throughout the day, specifically your morning. Now, there are two things that you're ultimately going to work through here. The first thing is, how would you prepare your space for Gary to be in it? Now, I know sometimes I'll ask this and some people say, I wouldn't do anything. Bullshit. You would do something differently if he was in your space. And if you're saying you wouldn't, then let's talk about ego, because it's just not true. You would do something. What is it you would do to prepare your space? Second question. He's now sitting in your world. He's watching you. He's observing you. What are the things that you regularly do that you would never allow him to see you doing? Answering texts, phone calls, emails, looking at Instagram in the middle of your deep work. What would change if he was in your environment? See, I think if you guys started just playing around with those two questions, that's when I ask myself oftentimes when I'm on a coaching call is, how would I handle this, or what would I be doing differently if I knew Gary was secretly listening in? If it's not Gary Keller, whoever your prophet, personal hero, the person is that you admire or look up to, what would you be doing differently? And see, the environment is definitely something that you would change. So what I hope that I illustrated to you today is that the environment that you choose to work in matters, that you need to be physically and digitally bunkered. And by doing so, you will get your best work done, more output with less input. So try this out this week, and let's just see what little micro improvements you can make each and every week so that you continue to win in whatever position you're currently in. Thank you all for being here. Take action on this, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.